William Billy Thomas Jr. is not the first name that comes to mind when asked about African American actors, although he was one of the first. Not a lot is known about his very early life, but we do know he was born March 12, 1931, and that he was a native of Los Angeles, California. Still a little confused? I'm talking, of course, about Buckwheat from the Our Gang Kids, later and more popularly known as the Little Rascals. Billy, as he was nicknamed, first appeared in the 1934 short For Pete's Sake, the first roundup, and Washi Irony as a background player. Just to clarify at this point, actors and actresses were referred to as players in cinematic history. Now, the Buckwheat character was originally a girl, and Thomas started his role as her in 1935's Mama's Little Pirate. Despite being a male, the Buckwheat character continued for a time as a girl. The studio dressed him up as a stereotypical African American pickaninny with pigtails, a large hand-me-down sweater, and oversized boots. The original personification of Buckwheat was Carlena Beard, but later in 1935 the character started to morph into the character we know and love today. The first time the character was referred to as he was in 1936's The Pinch Singer. Despite the change in Buckwheat's gender, his costume did not change until his appearance as a runaway slave in the 1936 feature General Spanky. The new costuming, overalls, striped shirt, oversized shoes, and an unkempt afro was retained for the rest of the series. Thomas remained in Our Gang for 10 years, appearing in all but one of the shorts made from Washi Irony to the series end in 1944. Not too much is known about the next decade or so, but I would presume it focused around school and putting food on the table. In 1954, Thomas enlisted in the U.S. Army at the age of 23. He served with distinction during the Korean conflict, earning the Defense Service Medal and the Good Conduct Medal. Returning to civilian life, he faced a dilemma: head back to Hollywood or make his way in the real world. He is quoted from later life as saying, "After the Army, I wasn't really interested in the hustle and hassle of performing. Even the big stars had to chase around and audition. It seemed like a rat race to me, with no security." Sounds like a really smart guy, if you ask me. Thomas still wanted to be involved in the film industry, just not in front of the camera. He channeled his experience into a job working as a film lab technician with the Technicolor Corporation. Now, from July 30th to August 3rd, 1980, at the second annual Hollywood meeting of the Sons of the Desert, more than 500 fans gathered at the Los Angeles Hilton Hotel. On July 31st, a ceremony to honor and commemorate the surviving members of Our Gangers took place. After all the other honorees, Thomas walked out onto the stage. At that moment, the room erupted into a spontaneous standing ovation. Thomas was moved to tears. Tragically, 10 weeks after being honored at the Hilton, Thomas passed of a heart attack in his Los Angeles apartment at the age of 49. He is interred at the Inglewood Park Cemetery in Inglewood, California. Although this man, who became a star in his own right, served his country honorably, and carved out a highly respectable career for himself, was tragically taken from this world too soon, go back and look at the Little Rascals. It is a snapshot of our country at a pivotal time. These shorts show a reality that relatively few of us remember. It was a time of hope and despair, racism and kindness, old relics and futuristic ideas. In short, it shows the transitional period in the first half of the last century. William Thomas Jr. played a character named Buckwheat. There's no explanation for the name of the character save for the fact that there are many phrases and descriptions from that era that just don't make sense anymore to our generation. But one thing is almost a certainty: the actor, character, and probably most of the country knew what buckwheat is. Bypassed by a myriad of new flavors and incarnations of the humble pancake, we're going to make Thomas's character's namesake in cake form today. Let's make some buckwheat pancakes on Taste Buds Through Time. Welcome to Taste Buds Through Time. I'm your host, Brian Parkhurst, and as you can see, it's nighttime. I know normally when I do these videos, it's daytime, but because we're going to be doing buckwheat pancakes this evening, we're going to have to get the batter together this evening to proof, and then we're going to actually do them on the griddle tomorrow morning. So this is kind of going to be a two-part video. But I got a dear friend that gifted me a book, and it's called The American Heritage Cookbook. More than 500 easy-to-make recipes, complete and up-to-date, together with 40 historic menus. Now, this book's last copyright date is actually 1969. I mean, it doesn't even have a UPC symbol on the back of it, so you know it's got to be old. But at any rate, I have found some wonderful recipes, and we're going to start with the buckwheat pancake recipe. So let's go ahead and do it. All right. This is one of the more involved things that you can do for a recipe for pancakes, but it's worth it. First thing we're going to do, just like with bread, you're going to go ahead and take your lukewarm milk, probably about 105, maybe 110 degrees, and then you're going to take your dry active yeast. This is 3/4 of a teaspoon, and you're going to put it in the water, and you're going to let it bloom for 5 minutes or so. Give that a little mix in there. Make sure it's all incorporated. Let it go. When you look at it and it's got bubbles forming and it's kind of creamy, then you know that your yeast has blossomed and you are ready to go and put the other ingredients in. Now we've had enough time to let the yeast go ahead and get active and bloom. What we're going to do is we're going to add a 1/2 teaspoon of salt and 2 cups of buckwheat flour. Now, before we started, I went and scalded 2 cups of milk, and I let it come down to room temperature. We're going to go ahead and add that in. And get this all mixed up. Now, I know sometimes when I throw these recipes together on camera, I'm a little miscombobulated, and I do apologize for that, but rest assured that we will go ahead and make sure that the recipe with all of its instructions and measurements will be in the description of the video below. All right. Now you're going to go ahead and get all that mixed up. And once you've got everything incorporated, you go ahead, take a tea towel, throw it over, and let it rest overnight on the counter in your kitchen. In the morning, we'll come back, we'll finish adding the ingredients, we'll fry them up on the griddle over the fire. All right. See you on the AM. Well, good morning, everybody. We have had the buckwheat batter sitting overnight fermenting, or proofing, I should say. And let's see what we've got. Wow, definitely different than when it went in last night. That's what that yeast does, makes it all nice and living. So to finish the batter, all we're going to do is we're going to put 1/4 cup of water in and 1 teaspoon of baking soda. Go ahead and get that all mixed up. And it's going to be a loose batter, but good. All right, now we've had the griddle heating up over the fire for a little bit. When you do it, make sure you go ahead and lubricate your pan. Use your spray, butter, fat, whatever. Personally, I like bacon fat, so we're going to go with bacon fat on the griddle. And it's early, so you tend to forget things when you don't have all of your coffee. Sweetness element, 1 tablespoon of molasses. Let's get that in before they go on the griddle because I don't know about you, but you gotta have some kind of sugary element going into your pancakes. All right, I'll get this all mixed in, and then I'll meet you all over at the griddle at the fire. All right, so making pancakes, or making the buckwheat pancakes, no different than making any other pancake. Take your batter, put it on your griddle. Yes, I know, it's very different from pancake batter that you've seen in the past, but it's also made from buckwheat. So, of course, it's going to have a different texture. It's going to have a different color. And when you're making your pancakes, you want to wait until the shine has gone away. It's gotten a little bit dry around the edges and the bubbles just start coming through. And once that's gotten to that point, the other side is set enough that you can do a controlled flip. We have gotten to that point. See, it's still kind of glossy in the middle, but the edges have dulled out and you got the air bubbles coming up through. We are ready for flippage. Oh, that's gorgeous. That is fantastic. Beautiful golden brown crust on it. So you know that side's done. Give it another minute on this side. Throw it on the plate and give it a try. And we're done. Look at that. That's beautiful. All right, it's been a while. Let's go over, throw some butter on it, some syrup, and give it a try. Let us give this a try. All right. Let's go ahead and do a little bit of butter. And a little bit of syrup, because it says you should enjoy these with a little bit of pure maple syrup. So let's go ahead. I literally have just a little bit of pure maple syrup left. And let's dig in. It's not your normal everyday pancake. It has definitely got an interesting flavor to it. I don't know if this pancake is really suited to the modern palate, but it's definitely pretty darn good. If you like whole wheat breads and you like pancakes, you're going to like these. So, yeah, not bad. I go ahead and give these a try. Like I said, it's one of those out of the ordinary things. You can always get the buckwheat pancake mix at the store, but I've had it. It doesn't taste anything like this. So I would recommend getting yourself a recipe or the one that I'm going to present to you in the description below. Try these out and tell me if you don't think that they're some of the most interesting pancakes that you've ever had. Well, I guess that closes it up for another one. Thank you so much for joining us down here at the pavilion, and we'll see you next time.
Where's all this pain coming from? I didn't have gum when I was in the dining room. I'm going to make a complaint to the captain.
Let's all do it together.
That's all. That's very good.
I'll have to wait until the boys get